Look at this.
Look
at
this! Notes for days.
Hold on. Look at it.
Hannah's been excited for this one for quite some time.
I think I melted my brain.
Fair.
I was like, I made the mistake of trying to find a list of all the different world lines, and there's like,
oh no.
There's like 75 of them or something. I don't know, but I got very confused. I was trying to figure out a specific thing that seems to be a bootstrap paradox, but I don't think actually is. But anyway.
Yeah, Hannah's been prepping for this episode for months, perhaps over a year.
Yeah. I don't know when I first watched this. I think it was, oh gosh. I don't remember.
Well, while Hannah's...
Last January, perhaps?
So yeah, over a year by this point.
Yeah.
So, before we get into that, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the General Geekery podcast.
Sup?
This is, of course, the podcast where we love to geek out about all that we love to geek out about with no remorse.
No regrets.
And with all of the enthusiasm in the world.
Elside Congru, bitches.
Yes. And welcome back, one and all, to AniMAY!
I shouldn't have clapped there. That was probably very bad for our headphone users.
You were far away from the mic. It's okay.
Mm-hmm.
If I have to reduce the noise on that in post, then it's fine.
Mm-hmm.
As always, I am your resident coffee ninja by day, actor, gamer, streamer by night. Donald Kaczynski back once again. By my side, she is our resident video game inept and artiste extraordinaire, Miss Hannah Kubiak.
Hello.
And welcome back again to AniMAY. Last time, we were talking about the Steins'Gate movie, Load Region of Deja Vu. Mm-hmm. And it all led up to this episode. Well, this episode and next episode, because this is going to be a two-parter.
Yeah.
For these episodes, we're going to be talking about the sequel series to Steins'Gate, Steins'Gate 0.
Yep. And today we will be covering episodes 1 through 12.
Indeed we will be. Now, for those of you that do not know, Steins'Gate 0 is the sequel series of Steins'Gate that aired in Japan around 2018. About, I want to say, 7 to 8 years after the final broadcast of the original Steins'Gate. Mm-hmm. Actually, before they did Steins'Gate 0, they did a rerun of the original Steins'Gate series to get people ready for the new series. However, there was something weirdly different about this. I haven't shown you this episode yet because I still need to find it.
Oh, the one with Nye?
No, the Nye's isn't incredibly different. That one is a visual novel only thing. Oh. They actually redid episode 23 to coalesce into this new timeline where Okabe doesn't go back to save Makise again and stays.
Yeah, so
that was the change episode that led into what would become Steins'Gate 0.
Yeah, because in if correct me if I get this wrong, but so Steins'Gate, the first series, takes place mostly in the Alpha World Line. The Alpha World Line is the one where Mayuri dies.
Yes, the Alpha World Line is the one where Mayuri dies.
Yes.
It starts off technically in the Beta World Line, where he sees Kurisu's dead body.
Right.
And he sends the text to Daru saying that she's dead.
It starts in the Beta.
But at that...
Oh my gosh, so the text creates the Alpha World Line?
Because at the time Daru was running an experiment with what would become the phone wave.
Ah!
So... And that puts them over the 1% divergence to be on the Alpha World Line.
And then the Beta World Line is the world line where Kurisu dies.
Yes, where Kurisu
where Kurisu dies and Mayuri lives.
Mayuri lives, yes.
And then Steins'Gate is the world line where both of them survive.
Yes, Steins'Gate is the...
and World War III is prevented.
World War III is prevented. CERN doesn't take over like they do in Alpha. Mm-hmm. And, that's how it is.
Okay, so Steins'Gate Zero takes place. It takes place in the Beta world line. It is 6 months since Okabe chose to stay in the world line where Makise is dead, Beta world line. So it was after we went back in time in the time machine with Suzuha to save Kurisu. The first time he failed, and he actually ended up accidentally killing her himself.
Indeed. Kefka joined us.
Hi, Kat. And he gets back from that. He's really fucked up. He's like, I can't do this. And he quits. He gives up, and he can't. And he doesn't save her. She dies.
He gives up the mantle of Hoin Kyoma.
Mm-hmm.
In this world line, in this telling, Mayuri doesn't doesn't give Okabe the encouragement to go back and do it again.
Yeah, because it was.
And therefore he doesn't receive that message from his future self, encouraging him, and he basically lets the past be the past.
Mm-hmm. Right. So, So Beta World Line, Kurisu is dead. The mad scientist persona is gone, and Okabe's super traumatized.
He starts living his life normally.
He's trying to be normal, going to college. He's popping those sweet, sweet antidepressants and going to hypnotherapy, as Mayuri recommended, but he's still pretty fucked up.
Considering...
He's having, like, flashbacks and panic attacks. Just not doing great overall.
We did kind of see a little bit of that in the movie as well, him having, like, those small little things where he kind of, like, saw the different world lines. This is more in line with, like, that kind of Okabe, just someone who is very affected by the trauma that he dealt with, but now that he doesn't have the mask of Hoin Kyoma anymore, he can't face it as head on as he used to.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So he is attending college. He's sort of living life. Like, he's managing passively. He's not really happy, but
he's existing.
He's
living.
existing, and so he attends a seminar held by some people from America, Professor Leskinen and his assistant Maho, and they present Amadeus, an AI based on Makise Kurisu's research. So in episode 2, we get a demo of how Amadeus works with Maho's memories from 4 days previously. Later on, Okabe talks to Maho kind of about this, and learns a little bit more about how it works. That basically they found a way to upload memories into an AI. And he tells Maho that he was a friend of Kurisu's, that he met her when she was in Japan, but he doesn't reveal how close they really were or anything, that they worked on a time machine together or anything like that.
I mean, with how can you even begin to start explaining something like that? Though?
Yeah, no, yeah, why would you? So Leskinen and Maho actually recruit Okabe to test an AI that's uploaded with Kurisu's memories from 8 months before her death. So 2 months before
the incident at the
2 months. 2 months before Okabe met her, basically.
Mm-hmm.
Bad idea, I say.
Yeah.
Alright, so I'm going to take a sidebar. It's a planned sidebar. I just want to say, based on the first 2 episodes here, something that I really appreciate about this show is how it portrays trauma.
Yeah.
Excellent. Just it's got all of the sort of aspects covered, like being sort of withdrawn socially, avoiding triggering places like the lab and the radio building. I think Okabe hadn't been there for a while, to the lab.
Yeah.
And everyone's shocked to see him there. They're like, oh my gosh, you haven't been here ages, hey, and he's like, yeah, hey.
Yeah.
You know, it's like trying to be a normal person, and he's managing pretty well considering, but sometimes it just like hits like a punch, and like those like
Sometimes.
yeah, like just like the flashbacks, panic attacks, flop sweat, you know.
Yeah.
So I get it, being like so stressed and traumatized that just thinking about these things makes you physically ill. Like,
Yep.
I get that.
And we didn't really get like hints of that like in the original show, mainly just because like he was just so wrapped up in trying to get everything, like undoing everything that him and all the members of the Future Gadget Lab did in order to like undo everything that they did in order to prevent Mayuri's death. Like he was so caught up in all that he didn't have the time to like stop and process.
No, yeah. All right. So, episode 3. So he's been talking to the Amadeus Kurisu a bit, and
we'll just say Amadeus.
Amadeus. Yeah.
It helps.
What helps?
It helps me to just like abbreviate it just as Amadeus.
Okay.
Because things are gonna get wibbly wobbly, timey wimey real quick.
Yeah. So Maho kind of she's sort of concerned about Okabe interacting with Amadeus too much, and she reminds him that the real Kurisu is still dead, and it's just it's just an AI, you know, like reminding him of that. And he experiences some strange deja vu that we later can conclude was the reading Steiner kicking in, where he briefly visited a world line where there's a war happening, caused by I think the reading Steiner at that point was caused by some sort of time machine experiment that like was going on either Russia or America, because they're like in an arms race trying to create a time machine.
Yeah, because Suzuha, as part of the ending of the last Steins'Gate, she came back in time in order to have Okabe save Kurisu in order to prevent World War III.
Yeah, because it's Kurisu's research
that was stolen
by her father that created the time machine. So Okabe was supposed to go back in time and save Kurisu and destroy the research, or at least make sure that nobody gets a hold of it. But he didn't do that. So she's still sort of trying to get him to go back in time with her. She's like, please, will you try it again? Going back and doing this, and he's like, I just can't. I can't go back and do it again. I don't think you really understand what it's like to go over and over and over again in the same events.
And meanwhile, while she's doing that, she's also having her dad, Daru, help her with repairs on the time machine. Mm-hmm. Which, I have to say, I do like the... It's weird, but I do like the father-daughter moments between Suzuha and Daru. Like, we were only told that in the original show and story, and getting a couple more moments between them is actually oddly heartwarming. Mm-hmm. Especially when Daru's just being, like, the straight man and not the stupid otaku that he can be.
So, in episode 4, we get another confusing bit. What am I calling it? Another thread. That's what it is. Another tab opens up in our giant web browser here. That's very confusing. So Suzuha enlists the help of Daru and Okabe to find a girl named Kaguri, who is Mayuri's future adopted daughter from 2036, who traveled back in time with Suzuha, but ran away in 1998 after holding Suzuha at gunpoint. We kind of, she says, like, so they hire Moeka as a sort of investigator, because she's not around her in this world line or anything, although it still freaks Okabe out to see her. He's like, oh my gosh, like, why did you bring her here? And like, oh yeah.
I mean, considering all the things that he had to deal with her in like the previous world line, the fact that One, she shot and killed Mayuri multiple times without any hesitation. Two, the entire experience.
Hit her with a car.
Yep, the entire experience with between him, her, and Braun, that entire confrontation, and also the weird stuff that happened, seeing her commit suicide.
Oh yeah, that's true. Yeah.
That led to the awkward moment in her apartment. That was. I'm not gonna let that go. I'm like, really, Okabe? Really?
So, Ruka brings an amnesiac girl to the lab. It turns out it's Geekery.
Dun dun.
Dun dun. And she looks just like Kurisu. She's not very similar, like, personality-wise, but she looks a lot like her. All right. So, in episode 6, a bunch of friends and lab members, they have New Year's at the shrine, and then they come back to the lab and they meet Amadeus. And then suddenly, Amadeus goes offline, and a bunch of armed men storm the lab.
I should note in mine. So while I'm watching this for the first time. For AniMAY. Hannah's already seen this. This is a weird inverse of like what usually happens. Usually, I'm the one that's has seen before, and Hannah doesn't.
Yeah.
So we were watching this in 6-episode batches, and at the end of episode 6, when the armed thugs were storming the lab, and then it cut to the end credits, I said, "Damn it!" I shouted so loud, I think I scared both Hannah and Kefka.
Yeah, I had a mini anxiety attack, actually.
I'm sorry. I'm so sorry.
Enclosed spaces, loud noises are not merely my friend.
I'm so sorry.
That's all right. All right, episode 7. Turns out the armed men are after Geekery, possibly because she's from the future. Then Tanuji, the CRT guy from downstairs, appears and beats the tar out of the thugs and says, "I thought I told you to keep it quiet up here."
Well, also considering the fact that his daughter was with them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. All right. And meanwhile, after that, Maho still can't contact Amadeus. Amadeus is offline. And later, Okabe gets a phone call. Ostensibly from Amadeus. His reading Steiner kicks in and he travels to the Alpha World Line, where Kurisu is still alive.
Oh, this episode hurt my heart.
Episode 8, yes. Oh, it was a beautiful, painful episode.
Yep.
So Okabe learns that in this world line, the Alpha World Line, Mayuri is dead because he couldn't go through with sacrificing Kurisu to save her. So this is kind of, I believe, the events of Steins'Gate episode 22, in the first series.
Yeah. So right before they deleted the email, deleted the first email from CERN's database in order to reset it back to beta. Mm-hmm.
Which I'm confused about how that works, but how deleting the email would do that. I don't remember.
I don't remember off the top of my head either, but
yeah, but basically it's a world where Mayuri is dead instead of Kurisu, and Kurisu knows immediately that Okabe has come from a different world line because she always knows, and she tries to convince him to go back to the beta world line. She says that it's better that way. And they have this conversation at Mayuri's grave where Okabe just basically says she says you've been really just racked with guilt about letting her die, and he's like, well, in the other world I'm racked with guilt too because you die, and she convinces him to go back to the beta world line by sending her a D-mail that will cause chain of effects that will cause Okabe to return to the beta world line where he chose to save Mayuri instead.
Which we see in the end credits was just the D-mail was a text that she received that said, "Don't go in," when she wanted to enter and convey her feelings to Okabe, right? And it was that couple of seconds that prevented her from preventing the deleting of the D-mail from certain
Prevented
servers.
her from preventing the deletion of the D-mail.
I didn't think she intended for that kind of effect to happen, but
No,
evidently
but-
from the evidence of what we've seen,
Well, when
that's
you run
the
in and
conclusion.
tell somebody that you love them, they might think twice about causing your death.
Yeah.
So, episode 9. Suzuha tries to force Okabe to go back in time with her at gunpoint. And Daru talks her down.
Me.
Yeah.
Next time I won't miss.
So basically, they conclude that some organization is probably targeting Amadeus in order to acquire Kurisu's time travel theories from her stored memories. In episode 10, Maho and Okabe go to the radio building. Bad idea, in my opinion. And Maho says that she has Kurisu's personal laptop, and Okabe loses his mind about that. Kurisu's data is on the laptop is the stuff that sparks World War III, and the laptop should be destroyed. He finally tells Maho about time machines, and
as we find out, she's having Daru that she didn't know was Daru decode the laptop.
Yep.
That was great. I'm like,
Yep.
for my initial reaction, I'm like, please tell me you did not give it to Moeka. Please tell me you did not give it to Moeka. I still have my suspicions about her, even though that this technically is beta.
Yeah.
The beta line.
Yeah.
But seeing that it was Daru, I'm like, okay, it's Daru. We're safe. We're okay.
Possibly, yeah. So a group of goons attack, and the laptop gets destroyed in the crossfire. Episode 12 is all about Kaguri, and we get some stuff about her in the past, and a song that Mayuri taught her. Its origin is a mystery, and this episode is basically Kaguri hears Mayuri in the present singing the song, and she has it, and it like triggers sort of a half memory where she's like, I know that song from somewhere, and so they try and figure out where Mayuri learned the song, because maybe that'll help Kaguri remember. So they kind of go on a scavenger hunt looking for the origin of this song, and it's really a mystery. It turns out it seems in this world line it seems to be kind of a loop, because Kaguri learned it from Mayuri.
And Mayuri in the present learned it from Suzuha.
From Suzuha, who had come from the future.
Suzuha had learned it from her mom when she was
Yuki.
young. Which, by the way, more characters in this, including Mayuri's mother, Yuki. Same voice actress and everything.
Oh, you mean Suzuha's mother?
Yeah, Suzuha's mom. So, and Yuki, as it turns out, learned it from a woman that she took a cooking class with, which incidentally happens to be Okabe's mother.
Yes, and she learned the song from Okabe, who has no memory of knowing the song at all.
When he was really young, and we see in a flashback sequence post credits of this episode that young Okabe technically learned it from Kaguri.
When she
was left in 1998 and left by herself, growing up all the way into 2011, where we are right now.
Yeah.
Who is being followed by, I believe, the same organization.
Yeah. At the end of episode 12, Kaguri goes into a sort of a trance at a Mozart song, and then she regains her memories. Mozart song.
Yeah.
Which like at this point, because I think you figured this out as well, like sleeper agent stuff, brainwashing, we're pretty sure. So another sidebar, something that I noticed. This might have, I don't know. I even went back and watched the scene from Load Region of Deja Vu again. But there's something I noticed. the scene with Okabe learning the song from Kaguri, it's very similar to the scene from Deja Vu where Makase goes back in time to plant the Kyoma personality in Okabe's mind. It's like at a raining train station, and he's the same age, and Kaguri looks exactly like Kurisu.
Yeah.
And in Load Region of Deja Vu, I swear that, like, there's different shots of her telling him this story, and her clothes change partway through. Like, she's wearing something different, and then she's wearing her original stuff again. And I'm just, like, so confused about why that would be. And I'm like, what the hell?
Wait, did that actually happen?
Yes, it did.
I'm gonna need to go back and watch that.
Yeah, you will, because I need to go back and watch this episode with Kaguri again and see if she was wearing the same thing, because it was kind of like a little sort of pajama thing. So I am very confused about that. I don't remember if that becomes relevant at all.
I will say I do find it kind of amusing that this entire episode was trying to make us remember like which paradox it was if a piece of information is just stuck in a time loop, and it was the bootstrap paradox.
Mm-hmm. Well, it might not be, because okay, I was going to say originally that that if Okabe knew the song, it could have traveled to a different world line with him, since he has the reading Steiner. But then why would he not remember knowing the song to begin with? Because he would remember, possibly. Unless it just wasn't that important to him. I don't know. Maybe he forgot. I don't remember every song I heard when I was a kid, but still,
right.
Like, there's that. I think the only possible thing is that it came from another world line when somebody else was there, and then got carried over.
Well, possibly. Well,
and that would explain why the closed loop isn't actually closed.
Yeah. So, for those that don't know, we did an episode talking about time travel and paradoxes and stuff like that.
Yeah, I have it right here.
Yep. The bootstrap paradox is prevalent when a piece of information is sort of closed in kind of like a continuous loop of people knowing it, but there's no identified source of where it originated from.
Yeah, or an object that gets passed along.
Yes.
That no one knows where it originally came from, because it keeps on getting passed to different people in different places in time. Like, like Doctor Who does this all the time.
Yeah, Doctor Who has actually, they mentioned it in one of the episodes with Peter Capaldi about who originally created Beethoven's Fifth Symphony.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah.
That he mentioned a hypothetical that imagine that there is a fellow who is a very big fan of Beethoven. Mm-hmm. Has all his music, but he also has a time machine, and he discovers, well, what's the use of a time machine if you can't go back to meet your heroes? So he goes back to the time with all of the sheet music that Beethoven have created. All his symphonies, concertos, and he looks around for the man, the myth, the legend, Ludwig von Beethoven. But nobody knows who he is. Not even his family. It's as if Beethoven never existed. But he has with him all of the music that he ever composed. So he goes to publish them himself under the name of Ludwig von Beethoven. He becomes Beethoven. So the question remains, who really wrote Beethoven's Fifth? Dun 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 dun. Dun 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 dun. It's a very abridged version of it, but that's basically the bootstrap paradox in a nutshell.
Yeah. Well,
there's more to it than that, but
I'll be thinking about this. I'll be thinking about this song and where it came from.
Maybe something will happen in the next couple of episodes.
In the next couple of episodes, I'll maybe figure it out.
Yeah, we ended off on episode 12 on a very questionable but also very nice note with Kaguri finally regaining her memory and remembering her mom is Mayuri. That if Steins Gate is good at one thing, it knows how to hit its audience in the feels.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, it hurts my heart every time.
Yeah.
So first reactions on this.
Yeah, go for it. I mean, I've seen this already,
Right.
allegedly.
So I'm a huge fan of the original Steins Gate show. It's one of my personal favorites, and it's my brother Zach's favorite series of all time. So I had a little bit of skepticism when first approaching Zero, primarily because it's like when you have something, a piece of media that you hold up on a pedestal, and then in comes another show from that same piece of media, like you kind of hold it up to like a standard.
Oh, whoops. Sorry, I'm just trying to adjust my blinds here. It's
No, you're good.
bothering me that they're...
It's okay. And so I was afraid, I'm like, am I putting too much emphasis on things? Am I gonna have my thing up too high and then just be devastated? I have not felt that at all in these past 12 episodes, which I'm thankful for. I thought that they were going to miss a key part of what made the original show so great, and that was its emphasis on character development, especially on payoffs late in the series.
Yeah.
And I'm glad to say that this has been a very good watch through so far.
It passes the smell test.
It does. And it's nice because we're getting a little bit more emphasis on a couple of characters that in the original series were popular but didn't really get too much development. I like how assertive Ruka has been because he wants to be involved more.
Yeah.
But it's the revelation that it's like, we just want to protect you, Ruka, because honestly, out of all the members of the Future Gadget Lab, you are the most normal. Yeah. And we want you to protect that normalcy and innocence that you have.
It's so unfair, though.
I know. I hate it.
It's his choice whether he wants to be involved, isn't it? Should be.
I mean, it is, but when you care for someone that much and you kind of want to protect them from that kind of... it's understandable on both sides. I've been on both sides of that kind of situation, and it hurts no matter what.
Oh, man.
And also, what I alluded to earlier, Daru. Daru has gotten so much more character development in Zero.
I actually didn't really care for Daru at all until I watched Zero, so...
Yeah, weirdly enough, in the extended universe of like the franchise that Steins'Gate is a part of, which is the Robotics Node series, Daru in the background plays an important part in a lot of the different titles. But he's the most prevalent in Steins'Gate, if I'm not mistaken. And yeah, we get to see him a lot more proactive in Zero, and honestly being more mature about like a lot of stuff, especially when it comes to the moments with Suzuha, like that moment with him, Suzuha, and Okabe on the roof when she's basically holding Okabe at gunpoint, and Daru just calm, chill, just talks her down. I'm like, yes, thank you, maturity, Daru.
Well, fatherhood will do that to you.
And then in the next moment he acts like the degenerate that we all know him for, and I'm like, okay, all right, yeah, thanks, Daru, you have my hopes up, and then all that, and then he's on the date with Yuki, and I'm like, oh my gosh, come on, Daru, you can do it. And then Mayuri comes in as the happy third wheel when they're asking the information, and I'm like, I'm sorry, Daru, I'm sorry.
Been there.
But yeah, that's an interesting relationship that I kind of want to see develop, and I know Suzuha is interested in like how the relationship between Yuki, her mom in the future, and Daru, her dad in the future, goes.
Yeah.
If this ends up in a point where Suzuha doesn't exist, I will be shocked. But I don't know.
You shall see.
I hope I shall see.
Yes.
I better have some development on that front, darn it.
Any more thoughts?
On some of the new characters that have been introduced. Maho Hiajo, she's grown on me. She's really great. I like her. She is a sassy little brat. and it's absolutely amazing. But she has this maturity and levity that keeps her grounded. I don't know. It's weird. It's like looking at a weird mirror image of like how Kurusu was originally. Like before she started working more hand in hand with the Future Gadget Lab and the Alpha World line.
Right.
Like more pragmatic. And it's just nice to have that kind of interplay with this version of Okabe, which, as much as it hurts my heart, and I wish that Hoen Kyoma would make an appearance sooner rather than later, it's nice to see it's nice to see the kind of effect that his journey basically had on him. Like, one of the biggest things for me in stories is, like, when you introduce, like, all these kinds of events, but your characters don't suffer the consequences of what there's no sense of, like, they feel that toll on them that they went through. And it's so often in stories, especially in anime, where you don't really get to feel that kind of levity or weight. But in Steins'Gate, you do feel it.
Do you know what the word levity means?
I feel like I do, but I don't know how to explain it.
Okay.
That's a thing with me with words. I feel like I know what I'm doing, but I'm probably not doing it.
That's word. You keep on saying, I don't think it means what you think it means.
Fair enough. But in relation to, like, I love seeing the effects that it, like, has on him. Like, again, first opening scene we see him. He's going through a hypnotherapy session. And
that is the most creepy-ass hypnotherapist as well. Like,
like
some sort of thing. I'm like, what is this? The KGB? Like, because the guy's like, you see a light.
Hold on.
That's a person.
Now I see a light.
A lover, perhaps.
This
kid is 18. Shut up about lovers, will you? Even though, I mean, you're right, but
I think he's technically in his 20s.
No, he's like 19, isn't he?
Something like
20?
that. 20?
To Goodle.
Okay, let's see.
Yeah, but I enjoyed. Okay, another thing that
he's 19 in Steins'Gate 0, so you are correct. Okay.
Yes, I am.
What's that attitude?
I don't know.
Bruh.
No, I don't know. But let me see. Another thing that Steins'Gate 0 gave me a better appreciation of was Hoen Kyoma, actually. Because if you listen to the episode when we watched Steins'Gate originally, I could not stand the mad scientist persona at all. I was like, what the hell is, I didn't really understand it to begin with, and then I was like, oh, I see, it's from Mayuri, and I didn't really understand it very well until I got to see sort of like the sort of gentler, kinder side of him, where he wasn't wearing that mask.
Yeah.
You know, that he has with Mayuri, and that sort of like kindness and gentleness shows up a lot more in Zero, along with the sadness.
Yeah.
But just like I'm more like that scene with Maho where like she has like that really visceral reaction to like being attacked in that alley, and like she's like lying there in bed and can't move, and she's like, would you just stay here with me for a couple of minutes? He's like, yeah, sure, you know, and he's there, and he's just very, very kind and almost tender.
Yeah, he's just a good guy.
I was like,
He's a good guy.
Mm-hmm.
He's just socially inept in the weirdest ways possible.
Yep. Socially inept. There was this moment when we were watching the first series, Steins'Gate, and Kurisu about Okabe and Mayuri. She was like, how can the two of you be so different? One of you is so socially inept and the other one is so not. And he's like, yeah, well, Mayuri is rather bad with people or something like that. And she's like, he's talking about you dimwit.
Oh, it's beautiful.
Yeah. But,
and then when Mayuri just casually says that she's his hostage and Curtis is about to contact the police.
Oh, no, I'm his hostage. Yeah. Yeah, but, yeah, Steins'Gate Zero made me appreciate the Hohen Kyouma persona a little bit better.
Yeah, I miss him every episode. I'm just like, come on, El Saikongru.
Yeah, I mean it takes a lot for me to say that I missed it as well. Eventually. At first, I was kind of like, my reaction was kind of like,
we won her over,
it was kind of like Mr. Braun, where I was like, wait, where I was like, oh, yep, look at you being normal, be a normal college kid now. Good for you, bud. But yeah.
So, since we're halfway through this, I'm gonna deposit this note right now of some predictions that I think is going to happen.
Predictions? Okay.
Yeah, so it relates to some of the new casts that we have been acquainted with. One, we have obviously Maho and Professor Alex Leskinen. I do love Maho, and I think she's basically Kurisu 2.0, like the Zero timelines version of like Kurisu. Like, something's off about Leskinen.
Well,
there's something.
He is American.
Okay, that aside, actually not that aside, considering the fact that America and Russia are planning on using time machines. I can't rule him out. But he's just way too happy-go-lucky in his interest in Okabe. Past the point where it's almost normal. And him continuing to push like his interactions with Amadeus. We don't see too much of him. And that is raising a red flag for me in the weirdest way possible. Same thing with their colleague and associate. I had to relook up her name, Judy Reyes. We've only seen her on screen like twice, and we still don't know who that woman in the leather suit was that came in.
Right.
Obvious deductioning would obviously point towards Moeka, considering what she did in the Alpha line with the Rounders. But considering the fact that this is not the Rounders doing this, we got that confirmation when Okabe confronted Braun.
It's some other group, yeah.
It leads me to believe that Leskinen and Judy are somehow involved in this, and Judy was possibly the biker woman. That's my current hypothesis on that. And so I'm going to leave it there. Where Kagari plays in this, I still think somehow it's a sleeper agent. But considering the fact that we saw her pointing the gun at Suzuha in the past in 1998 when she was only like 12 or 13 at the time, right?
She was 10.
She was 10. Like, the way that she was acting, like, in that moment, from what we saw from Suzuha's perspective, leads me to believe that something must have happened in the future where that had happened. Now, how that
she was already, like, brainwashed or a sleeper agent when she was sent back?
Yeah. I mean, they described that she grew up in an orphanage before she was officially adopted by Mayuri, so... Yeah. There's too many blank spaces that need to be filled for that.
Yeah.
As for Mayuri's cosplay friends, the one that experienced the Beta World line that
or the Alpha?
Yeah, experienced the Alpha World line
time,
almost at the same time, and she thinks it was just a dream.
Yeah.
I don't know what to make of that. I truthfully do not know what to make of that. I think you mentioned at some point during our watch through of it on that day that everyone potentially has reading Steiner.
Yeah, it's like deja vu.
Yeah, and was mentioned. Actually, the movie actually kind of mentioned that to an extent.
In the movie.
So.
Like when in the first series when Okabe is like reversing all of the D-mails that he sent, like Ruka and Ferris both start to remember the old world line before they agree to undo the D-mails. So
that's right. So I don't know if that was just a one-off thing. I don't know how that's going to play a part in this. So that one is still questionable in my eyes. But the two American characters, Judy and Leskinen, I'm super suspicious of them both. It's I don't think this is a Chekhov's gun moment, but I don't know.
Do you mean Schrodinger's gun?
You're never gonna
Chekhov's cat?
She's never gonna let me live this down. She's never going to let me live this down, and truthfully, she has every right not to let me live this down.
Yeah, no. It should be a Chekhov's gun. Like, if you introduce some people, they should be important.
Yeah.
You know.
And that's kind of the weird thing, because Leskinen has more on-screen appearance than Judy.
Yeah.
And that is super suspect.
Well, who knows? If Judy is the biker woman, then she's been around quite a bit.
I mean, that's kind of what I'm suspecting. I don't know if it's just like a random red herring thrown in to keep me off my game.
Possibly.
But
Possibly. Steins'Gate is out to get you. It's out to confuse you.
Kafka saying, "Indeed, this is the work of Steins'Gate, human."
Indeed. It is the will of Steins'Gate.
But we're not going to know that until we get to the second half of the series.
I am looking forward to some of this stuff.
She's been very giddy about... when I told her that I had not seen it before, she's like, do you want to watch it? Do you want to watch it together? And I'm like, sure. And Hannah's like, yes. Now, do you finally understand my excitement and whenever you do
yes,
or watch
I do.
something that...
I mean, it'll have to wait until we've finished this series, but I want to hear if you have a preference between Steins'Gate or Steins'Gate Zero, because I know that I do.
That's going to be difficult to answer, but I will definitely keep that in mind until the series is done.
Yeah.
It's kind of weird because we're watching both of them at the same time.
Yeah, it's very confusing.
Yeah. So for context, during the watch through of Steins'Gate Zero, I also have the original Steins'Gate series on DVD and Blu-ray, and Hannah hadn't seen the original series in the English dub.
Yeah, I hadn't. No.
And she was wondering about it since she watched Zero in the English dub. So we were rewatching the original Steins'Gate in the English dub, and we left off at the part where the Rounders stormed the lab and shot Mayuri.
Yep.
So we're at the halfway point in both shows.
Yep.
And both halfway points end very differently.
Yes. What was I going to say? Goodness. The dub of Steins'Gate is excellent. There's some real good one-liners in terms of phrase in there, I must say.
Thank you again, J. Michael Tatum as Hoin Kyoma, who is also the ADR director for I think he was also the ADR director for Zero, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, he was.
He was? Okay, sweet. Bless.
Bless.
So, yeah.
Rest assured, my porcine friend.
I
always proceeding as I had foreseen.
We get little glimpses of that from him, like in Zero, but it just sounds so normal. It doesn't feel the same. I'm like, it doesn't feel the same without the over-the-top dramatics.
All right, yeah.
It's like something's missing. And I want Hoen Kyomo back. I want him back. I want him back so bad. But we'll see what happens next time. So
I wouldn't say that I missed it, but I enjoyed it when it showed up again.
Wait, he does show up again? Why would you tell me this?
Because.
Leave me surprised!
Because it's obviously gonna happen. Right?
Fair. Yeah, you're right.
Right.
I mean, it does seem obvious, but at the same time, I'm like, will they? Won't they? I don't know where I'm going into at this point.
He'll be back. You will see.
Oh no! Now we're going into the King of England. All right, let's wrap this up before we start getting lawsuits from Lin-Manuel Miranda. What's going?
You can sing like 2 bars of a song before it infringes copyright.
Fair enough.
I think. I don't actually know.
Well, I'm not gonna test the waters on that. So we'll leave it at that. So, ladies and gentlemen, that was our episode about Steins'Gate 0, episodes 1 through 12. Initial thoughts, reactions, and overall analysis. I can't wait to see what the rest of the show has in store. And I'm probably going to bawl my eyes out. If you guys want to help support the show in any way, shape, or form and help us continue making content the way that we do it, please consider checking out our Patreon and our Coffee pages, the links of which are in the description below. Especially on Patreon, we are introducing some brand new stuff on there, including movie commentary tracks. We have one up. We have one up on there related to Steins'Gate, where you get the entire commentary track of me and Hannah reacting to the Steins'Gate movie, Low Region of Deja Vu.
There was a lot of silence from me in that one. I was just trying to. I was trying to absorb it and.
Understandable. We're probably going to have another one up on there this month. I just have to choose the AniMAY movie that we're going to watch following Steins'Gate, because unfortunately with Steins'Gate, the movie and the Steins'Gate 0 coming out to only 3 episodes, we could probably fit another movie in there.
Didn't we?
We'll probably fit one in there.
I thought we had recorded another episode.
Well, we'll see.
Oh, originally I had thought we were going to do like an episode for each 6.
Originally we were originally going to do it for per 6, but it ended up being per 12.
Our watching caught up with our recording.
Yeah,
that is how much we had watched before we got around to doing this. So.
Quite so. So yeah, if you guys want to check out all that fine stuff, you can check it out at the Patreon. You have to be a patron of ours in order to access that content. But every dollar that you spend on the Patreon goes towards us in order to create new content and shows for you guys, including but not limited to the reactions as well as Inepticon.
Yeah.
And if you guys want to check out Inepticon, you can hop on over to my Twitch at Coffee Ninja Ryu, link of which in the description. We do that a couple times every month where we have Hannah sit down and play some video games.
Yeah.
Like the video game Inept that she claims that she is.
I claim it because it's true.
Fair enough. And if you guys want to check us out on any of our other stuff, you can check us out on Twitter at Genki Podcast and on Instagram at General Geekery. You can check us out on Loaded Dice Adventures over on Twitch at Loaded Dice Adventures, Mondays and Wednesdays, respectively. And you can also check us out on our respective social medias. You can find me on Twitter at Coffee Ninja Ryu, and you can check Hannah out at her DeviantArt page at... Oh my goodness, I forgot it again.
Dolman Bright.
Dolman Bright, thank you.
There's nothing really going on there, but,
Fair enough.
You can see some really old stuff that I did. And you can also see some really old posts on Instagram from me as well.
At Python Legume.
At Python Legume.
So go check those out if you are so inclined. This has been Steins'Gate episodes 1 through 12 discussion for AniMAY as part of General Geekery Podcast. For Hannah Kubiak, I'm Donald Kozinski, and until next time, guys, El Sai Kanguru. And always remember to keep your geek on.
Always.
Clink, clink.
Clink, clink.
Bye, everybody!